What if the fate of the entire commercial aviation industry rested on a single aircraft decision? Here is a fact that might surprise you right now. One company, Boeing, is racing against time, history, and a fierce European rival to design a plane that doesn't even exist yet, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The decisions being made in quiet boardrooms today will determine who controls the skies in the 2030s and beyond, affecting millions of passengers, thousands of airline routes, and hundreds of billions of dollars in global commerce. Welcome back to the World Documentaries, where we explore the stories that shape our world from the ground up, and sometimes from 30,000 feet above it. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on Boeing's boldest and perhaps most desperate move in decades. The development of an all-new commercial aircraft designed to reclaim the company's place at the very top of the aviation world. Buckle up, because this story is as turbulent as the skies themselves, a giant caught sleeping. For most of the 20th century, Boeing was untouchable. The American aerospace giant dominated the skies with legendary aircraft like the 707, the 747, a plane so revolutionary it single-handedly transformed global air travel, and later, the iconic 777 and the groundbreaking 787 Dreamliner. Carriers around the world flew Boeing. Passengers trusted Boeing, and Wall Street rewarded Boeing. At its peak, the company controlled roughly half of the entire global commercial aircraft market, a dominance few industries ever witnessed from a single manufacturer. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. While Boeing was focused on squeezing profits from its existing lineup, its European rival Airbus was quietly crafting a strategic masterstroke. In 2010, Airbus unveiled the A320neo, a re-engined, fuel-efficient upgrade of its popular narrow-body jet. The response from airlines was overwhelming. Orders flooded in, and Boeing, caught flat-footed, suddenly found itself facing a crisis it had never truly prepared for. The race that broke everything. The pressure from Airbus's A320neo forced Boeing into one of its most consequential and ultimately catastrophic decisions. Rather than investing the time and resources needed to design a genuinely new aircraft, Boeing chose speed. It chose the shortcut. The company decided to upgrade its aging 737 platform, a design that traces its roots all the way back to 1967, and call it the 737 MAX. The logic was financial. Airlines didn't want to retrain pilots, and Boeing didn't want to lose market share to the Neo. The result was a product born from compromise. The 737 MAX was rushed through development, and the consequences were devastating. In October 2018 and March 2019, two fatal crashes claimed 346 lives, grounding the entire MAX fleet worldwide for nearly 2 years. Investigations revealed systemic failures in both design oversight and regulatory process. The financial damage to Boeing reached an estimated $20 billion in costs and legal settlements. More painfully, the reputational damage was incalculable, and it is still being repaired to this very day. The dream that never flew. Even as the MAX crisis unfolded, Boeing had another card it had hoped to play. In the mid-2010s, the company had been quietly developing what became known internally as the new midsize airplane, or NMAA, concept that aviation enthusiasts and airline executives alike nicknamed the Boeing 797. This was not a small idea. The NMA was envisioned as a genuinely transformative aircraft, a 222-270-seat jet that would elegantly bridge the enormous gap between narrow-body planes like the 737 and wide-body jets like the 787 Dreamliner. The appeal was powerful and commercially logical. Dozens of airlines were still operating aging Boeing 757s and 767s on medium-range routes. Flights too long for a narrow body but too short and thin for a wide body. The NMA promised to fill that gap with modern efficiency, clean sheet design, and the kind of passenger comfort that would make it an instant bestseller. Analysts called it one of the most commercially lucrative aircraft segments in the world, a gap in the market that remained wide open and waiting to be filled. When the dream died, then reality arrived, and it arrived hard. In 2019, the dual MAX groundings pulled every available dollar, every engineer, and every ounce of executive attention away from the 797 concept. The NMA was shelved, not officially cancelled, but quietly abandoned in the chaos of crisis management. And then, just as Boeing was beginning to stabilize, a once-in-a-century pandemic struck. The COVID-19 crisis collapsed global air travel overnight. Airlines parked their fleets. Orders dried up. Boeing's annual losses stretched into the billions. The problems kept coming. Quality issues emerged on the 787 Dreamliner production line, triggering a multi-year delivery halt. The 777X, Boeing's next-generation long-haul jet, was delayed again and again, still uncertified as of the time of this documentary. Industry analysts began asking openly whether Boeing had simply missed the window, whether the company had fallen too far behind to mount a credible comeback in the new aircraft market. It was, by any measure, the darkest chapter in Boeing's modern history. A new leader, a new horizon. Into this turbulence stepped Kelly Ortberg, appointed as Boeing's CEO in August 2024, a seasoned aerospace executive brought in specifically to lead the company's recovery. Ortberg moved quickly to stabilize operations, address production quality failures, and critically begin laying the groundwork for what comes next. Because Boeing understands, perhaps more clearly than anyone, that its long-term survival depends not just on fixing today's planes, but on building tomorrow's. Internal studies for a brand new single-aisle aircraft are now actively ramping up. According to reporting from the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg, two of the world's most respected financial publications, Boeing's next plane is expected to target the upper end of the narrow-body market, positioning it most directly against the phenomenally successful Airbus A321neo, with an entry into service currently projected for the mid to late 2030s. Formal preparation work is expected to begin as early as next year, marking the first significant step toward Boeing's aviation comeback. What the new plane actually means. So what exactly is Boeing planning to build? From what has been reported, the new aircraft would sit closest in capacity and mission to the current 737 MAX 10 Boeing's highest capacity single-aisle model. Think somewhere in the range of 200 to 230 seats. Built for the kind of high-frequency medium-range routes that have made the A321neo Airbus's single best-selling aircraft in history, a plane that accounts for a staggering portion of Airbus's narrow-body order backlog every single year. Importantly, Boeing appears to be choosing pragmatism over spectacle, rather than pursuing radical unproven technologies such as open-rotor engines or blended wing-body configurations. The new aircraft is expected to rely on conventional wing designs, advanced lightweight composite materials, and next-generation turbofan engines capable of running on sustainable aviation fuel. This is a deliberate strategy, informed by the bitter lesson of the MAX. Chasing complexity for competitive advantage can destroy you if the technology isn't ready. Boeing wants a plane that is certifiable, manufacturable, and deliverable on time. The race ahead and your role in it. Here is the bigger picture that makes this story so fascinating. Boeing is not alone in planning a next-generation narrow-body. Airbus, riding the extraordinary commercial success of its A320neo family, is also actively exploring what comes after its own clean-sheet aircraft for the 2030s. This means the aviation world is heading into another era-defining competition, a rematch between the two great giants of commercial aerospace, with technologies we are only beginning to understand and passenger numbers we can barely imagine. For all of us who fly, or hope to fly more safely, more sustainably, and more affordably in the decades ahead, this race truly matters. The decisions being made right now will shape the aircraft you board in 2038. They will influence ticket prices, fuel consumption, carbon emissions, and the health of an industry that connects our entire planet. Boeing's 2030s must be better than its 2020s, and for the sake of everyone who loves aviation, we genuinely hope they will be. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the World Documentaries. If this story got you thinking about aviation, about corporate risk, about the high-stakes race to shape our skies, we would love to hear from you. Drop your thoughts, predictions, and questions in the comments below. Do you think Boeing can pull this off? Or has Airbus secured an insurmountable lead? Your perspective matters, and this community learns from every single comment. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. It helps more curious minds like yours discover stories like this one. And if you want to stay ahead of the world's most important stories, subscribe to the World Documentaries and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We cover the decisions, discoveries, and dramas that are quietly reshaping civilization, from the boardrooms of aerospace giants to the far corners of our extraordinary planet. See you in the next documentary.